So, you're playing Fire Emblem Fates, and you're going through the extensive story, of course, pressing this button and getting through that story. Alright. But, you're looking at the map, and you're trying to play the game, but you're seeing all kinds of stuff. You're seeing, you're seeing your darting blow skill, you're seeing your blow skills, you're seeing this poison strike nonsense. And you're like, what the hell is going on here? You're seeing, you're seeing weapons that are like, oh, here's a dagger weapon. Oh, it has 40 different lines of text, and about half of these don't make sense. Now, what are we doing here? Well, that's what I'm here to teach you. I'm here to talk to you guys about how to learn about Fates mechanics as a whole. Now, we're going to be covering a lot of topics here. Number 1, pair up. Number 2, we're going to be also be talking about dual strike. We're going to be talking about stuff like attack speed, weapon triangle, weapon bonuses, all kinds of bonuses from stuff, stat stacking. Like, we're going to be talking about everything. We're going to be talking about so much more. All right, so get your stromboli, get your lasagna, get ready for this, because it's going to be a long ride. Number 1, these are all important things to remember when you're playing through Fates. More specifically, Conquest, because it's the one that, in Birthright and Revelation, you can get away with not knowing this stuff, but in Conquest, whoo, buddy, you're in for a tough time if you don't know this. Let's start off with our good friend, pair up. First thing you need to know is pair up Fates is not like Awakening. Fates pair up is significantly different from Awakening. Awakening pair up is you get the stat boost and you have a chance to initiate the second attack. However, in Fates, pair up is when 2 units are on the same tile. So you have 1 person here and 2 people here. This is pair up, also known as defense stance. When you're in pair up, you get 2 benefits. You get stats. So you get So let's say you're with our good friend Silas here, so you get strength plus 2 with no support. You get strength plus 2, defense plus 2, and resistance plus 2. These are based on the class. So this is the Cavalier. These are the Cavalier pair up bonuses. Depending on supports, units also give different support bonuses. So, for example, if you have no support with Charlotte, and you're with Charlotte right here, if you're with Charlotte, then you get as a fighter, you get plus 4 strength and plus 2 speed. But if you have an S support, now if you have an S support, that goes all the way up to 7 strength and 4 speed. Depending on each character, they can have different pair up bonuses. And it depends on the classes too. The second bonus that you get from pair up is Shield Gauge. Shield Gauge is a mechanic that makes your enemy phases less shitty. Now, when you pair up with a unit, you have 10 slots. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 10 different shields. Every time you attack or get attacked, you get 2 bars. So that means that if I get attacked once, then I get this. Then I have this much shield gauge. And then if I attack back, then I get that. If I'm doubling the enemy, then I get 2. Next combat, an enemy attacks me, I get my 1 shield gauge. Then I attack them back, I get a 2nd shield gauge. On the next attack, if I get attacked by another enemy, no matter what that enemy does, this shield gauge will, even if they are going to miss, regardless, that enemy's attack will get completely nullified. You will take no damage, and then this shield gauge will get turned back into an empty one. That's the basics of shield gauge. Now, shield gauge only increases by 2 unless you have a couple of skills. The skills that change this are the most relevant skill is Dual Guardsman. Now, this is a DLC skill, so if you're not playing with DLC, this is not important. But Dual Guardsman makes it so that you get 3 shield instead of instead of 2. This is not going to come into play too much, because if you have a unit that's been reclassed into a DLC class, you're probably trying to make use of them as opposed to the person that they're paired up with, and the dual guardsman only affects the unit that your unit is paired up with, as opposed to the unit themselves. But this is still something important to remember. Now, idling. This is what I like to call idling. If you go for one turn, and your unit has, let's say your unit is at 60% shield gauge, 6 out of 10. And then they do nothing. Next turn, that shield gauge is going to go down to 5 out of 10. So, if you want your unit to keep their shield gauge, you want to engage in combat. That's something to do. Now, let's move on to one of the more. Let's move on to the corollary to shield gauge. Dual strike. Also known as attack stance. By the way, I'm controlling music with that. Here we go. So dual strike is when you have 2 units on separate tiles. So this is unit 1, this is unit 2. Now, this happens when a unit is engaging with an enemy. So let's say unit 1. So unit 1 is attacking against this enemy right here. So what you will get is you will get dual strike. That means that you will get an attack off of your unit. So let's say unit 1 does 10 damage. So you will get 10 damage with your regular hit rates, plus half of what unit 2 would do. So 2's attack divided by 2 on their hit rate minus 10. So that, and then the crit is the same. The crit is the same. So that's how much you will do. The benefits of this is obviously that you get offensive bonuses. The problem is that if you have 2 enemies, now let's say this is a flip situation. You have E1, E2, and they're ganging up on one unit. They can do the same thing to your unit. So that's why this is called attack stance, because it leaves your units more vulnerable. The reason, another thing that pair up, if you remember, does is that if these units try to attack you, but you have a second unit in the same tile, then the dual strike attacks do nothing. So dual strike does not work on pair up. So it doesn't work against paired up units, it doesn't work with paired up units. But when I say with paired up units, you cannot initiate a dual strike with a paired up unit. For example, in this situation, let's say you have 1 and you have 2. But 2 has a little pair up partner. 1 can still initiate a dual strike, but if 2 attacks an enemy, 1 cannot attack that same enemy with a dual strike. Only the units that are unpaired can initiate dual strikes. Now, what are some dual strikes are not just good for dealing extra damage, they also have some extra bonuses. Some weapons have extra bonuses when they attack. For example, you have brave weapons, you have stuff like effective damage. These are the 2 main ones, but there's some other situational uses. The main thing to remember is that if you use these in dual strike, then normally brave weapons have a drawback. For example, physical brave weapons have your strength after you use them. But if you use them in a dual strike, that means that you get 0 penalties. This is extremely good. Now, this doesn't just affect brave weapons; this affects all weapons. So dual strike means, if I can spell, means no penalties. You have no penalties whatsoever when you dual strike. That does not the unit attacking. The unit that you are dual striking off of, the secondary unit, has no penalties. So let's say I have Gazak over here with his smile. He's over here with his axe with the Orglimir. This Orglimir, normally it halves your strength after you attack. But then I have Perry here with her freaking weird with her dope hair, and she's attacking, and she's got her she's got her knife, you know how it goes, and she's attacking an enemy. Gazak will attack, but he will not get halved. that's very useful, because this if you can use this to your potential, it'll be very useful. So if let's say you're fighting a group of flying enemies, you got some flyers here. Luckily, you have my main man, Mr. Niles, over here. You have Niles here. If he is attacking, let's say he goes up here, he attacks this enemy. So Niles is right here. He attacks this enemy. Now you can have a mage. Let's say Felicia. What's her hair like? Oh yeah, it's like this. Let's say she attacks this enemy. Niles also gets to attack this enemy. That means that this enemy gets dual strike to hell. This enemy is bodied because Niles is a bow unit. Now you have Odin here, Mr. Odin Dark, and then he attacks this flyer. Now this flyer also gets dual striked off of Niles, and this flyer fucking dies. Now all you have to deal with is one single flyer. Then you can just send your send Camilla at it, and then this flyer will absolutely eat shit. That's how you use dual strike. Let's move on to some interesting things. Conquest, in specific, is a very calculation-heavy game. And in calculations in Fire Emblem, one thing that you need to remember in Fates and Awakening in specific is attack speed. In any game, attack speed is important. However, in Fates and Awakening, normally the threshold you need to meet is 4 attack speed. You need to have 4 more attack speed than your enemy. Unless it's 3 attack speed in Fire Emblem 3, but Fire Emblem 3 is a bit of an hard in a lot of ways. But in Fates Awakening, you need to hit 5 attack speed. That is your golden number. You need to hit 5 more attack speed than your enemy. Now, Fates and Awakening, there is no weapon weight. Awakening doesn't have any debuffs, but we're not here to talk about fucking Awakening. We're here to talk about Fates. Fates weapons have a lot of different things that they can do. For example, steel weapons. Steel gives you -3 to following up. That means that your attack speed is it is 3 speed harder, so you need to hit 8 speed of your enemy to attack them twice with a steel weapon. However, something to remember, this is only affecting offensive attack speed. Now, some of you veterans might be wondering, what the hell is this offensive attack speed nonsense? Well, I'm here to tell you about this one. This one's a bit of a banger. Offensive versus defensive attack speed. Let's swap the music a bit. Ah, fuck. Hold up, give me a second. Oh, that's a good one right there. Can I please turn up the music? Is my music not good? There we go. Attack speed. Now, your unit has an attack speed. Let's say we have Corins. On your stats, you look here. You have 9 speed. So normally you have, well, that's probably like a base level Corrin, but that's not the issue here. So on normal weapons, you have 9 attack speed with 0 modifications. If you have a steel weapon, steel weapons make it harder for you to follow up. They don't make it harder for the enemies to follow you up. So this means that your offensive attack speed is normally it's 9-9, but with the steel weapon it goes down to 6-9, which is funny, of course, but that means that your offensive attack speed is 6, your defensive attack speed is 9. So enemies will need 14 attack speed to double you, but you will only but your offensive attack speed without any buffs at this point is 6. So you can only follow up attacks on enemies that have 1 or less attack speed, which doesn't happen in Conquest at least. Now, what do we do now? Now, how else is this affected? Let's take an example like let's take a look at the ye old tomahawk, shall we? Let's go into the tomahawk. I'm going to the Dusk Armory so I can look at the fucking tomahawk. I haven't looked at the tomahawk in a hot minute. Okay, so actually let's just look at hand axes. Weapons like 1 to 2 range that is not dagger, or magic. So that means like hand axes, javelins, kodachis, stuff like that. This again, this does not include knives or magic bows. Okay, let's move on. That is going to make it 5 harder for the enemy to follow up, and you can't follow up at all with that. So your offensive attack speed is, let's take a look at the old hand axe. It's weak to follow-up attacks. So you will have 9 offensive attack speed, but it literally doesn't matter because you can't follow up. But your defensive attack speed will get lowered to 4. So if you have a hand axe, that means that the enemies only need 9 attack speed to double you. So if you're using offensive attack speed, if you're using hand axe, you need to be careful about the enemies because they might just end up doubling you and killing you. This is a lesson that I've learned the hard way. Let's move on to our next topic, which will be weapon stat buffs. This is an all-time classic. This one is mostly applicable to Hoshido. However, it is also you do get some of these weapons and more. So we are at this point right now. We are talking about naginata. We're talking about katanas. We're talking about yumis, and we're talking about shurikens. Now, only the iron weapons of these tell you. And we're also talking about spirits. So all of these weapons give you visible stat buffs. All naginatas give you +1 defense and resistance. Okay, you know what? +1 defense and resistance. All katanas give you +1 speed and -1 defense and resistance. All yumis give you +2 res, which is kind of stupid and almost useless. All shurikens give you +2 speed because they're not already broken enough. And spirits give you varied stats. For example, the horse spirit gives you 4 magic. No, sorry. Skill, speed, defense, res, stuff like that. Different spirits give you different stuff. These are flat weapon buffs. No matter what, if a weapon has the weapon icon of a katana, so if a weapon has the bent looking lance, that's a naginata. Katana, so like if it has the cool looking blade, that's a katana. If it has like the big looking bow thing, that's a yumi. If it has like the 4-pronged looking stuff, that's wow, I really suck at drawing. If it looks like this, that's a shuriken. If it looks like, your old like this or whatever, that's a spirit. This even affects your weapons. So for example, even the Yato gives this +1 speed, -1 defense and res. Check it out, it will do that. So make sure to remember that all shuriken weapons, even the ones that are named, will give you those defense. So even the Raijinto gives that, the Fujin Yumi even gives the +2 res. Make sure to remember these things. They could help you out one day. The most important one to remember with that is the Yato. Now let's move on to debuffs. This one's a big one. Debuffs. Now, we're going to be talking about weapon-based debuffs in this point. We're going to be talking about skill-based debuffs very soon, right after this, actually. So let's move on to weapon-based debuffs. These mostly affect your good old shuriken buddies that I can't draw properly, and daggers, and the occasional big saw. That are on the automatons. So these all give you debuffs. This is only if it hits you. Skill-based debuffs, there's this thing where if you kill the enemy on the round that they initiate combat with you, the debuff doesn't apply. However, this is not the case here. If the enemy hits you, you will get debuffed. So, depending on the weapon, there are different debuffs. Usually, you check the weapon, you click on the weapon, and you will be able to see what the debuffs are. It's varied. For example, let's take a look at our good old buddy, the brass shuriken, shall we? Actually, I don't have. It's not shurikens. I'm on a Conquest save file right now. Let's take a look at the bronze dagger. The bronze dagger, what the bronze dagger gives is, it's, sorry, let's go to the iron dagger, actually. Oh shit, it doesn't actually, oh, something that you actually do want to remember, it doesn't actually show you the, debuffs until you, look at it in your inventory, which is kind of annoying, but, whatever. The stat drop for the iron dagger is 2 magic, 3 defense, and 3 resistance. The stat drop for the, bronze dagger is 1 skill, 1 speed, 2 defense, 2 res. Now, remember, skills recover, debuffs recover at 1 per turn, which is kind of stupid. Unless you have skills like, Clarity. That is a DLC skill on the Dreadfighter class that lets you recover it 2 per turn. But mostly, you're going to be looking at 1 per turn. Now, something else you want to remember. Debuffs don't stack. Unless the enemy's a dickhead and they have the skill Inevitable End. It looks like this. If they have that, you need to finish that map quickly, brother, because that map is going to kill you 70 times over. This applies to exactly 2 maps. This is, that would be, Ryoma and CQ Endgame. These 2 maps are the 2 maps that you'll see Inevitable End on, and these maps will kill you unless you have reliable strats. For Ryoma, just a quick pro tip, I would suggest Wyvern Lord Korin, because you get the dual club in Conquest, and you also, which is a weapon reversal, which is a weapon triangle reaver weapon, which means that Ryoma gets double weapon triangle disadvantage when you use it against him, and also Wyvern Lords get Swordbreaker, so you can have him have about 10 hit on you, which is extremely useful. Now, let's continue on to our next topic. This is my this is the topic that you need to pay attention to, especially for Conquest. Skills. Now, number 1, we're going to be talking about seal skills. So, seal skills are, there's only a few seal skills. There's seal strength, magic, speed, defense, and resistance. There is no seal skill, there is no seal luck, there is no seal, yeah, those are the only skills, those are the only seal skills that there are. Seal strength is on Master of Arms, which is a promotion off of Samurai, so you probably won't be able to use it on your units. Actually, in Conquest, Odin can turn into a Master of Arms, so if you want that, it's a level 5 skill. Level 5. Seal Magic is a Dark Knight. Level 5 skill. Seal Speed. Speed and defense are Spear, Fighter, Master skills. So Seal Speed and Seal Defense are both on Spear Fighters and Spear Masters. Spear Fighters get Seal Defense at level what the hell? They get it at level 5. Spear Fighters, Spear Masters, they get Seal Speed at level 5. So level 5 each. Seal Res is on Oni Savage level 5. You can actually get access to all of these. Leo is the Dark Knight. Odin can turn into a Dark Knight. Nyx can turn into a Dark Knight. Ophelia can turn into a Dark Knight. Master of Arms. You can have Odin Master of Arms. You can have Korn Master of Arms. Spear Fighter. There's a capturable Spear Fighter that's really good called Haitaka in Conquest, Chapter 9. He starts off with Seal Defense, and he also has Rally Defense and Stronger Post, which are pretty good skills. And he turns it, if you promote him to a Spear Master, you can get that. See, Oni Savage. There's an Oni Chieftain boss called Kumagera, who's also really good. He can get Seal Resistance. I digress. The Seal skills are on combat. It does not matter if the enemy hits you, if the enemy misses you, if the enemy gets blocked by shield gauge. If the enemy initiates combat with you, and the enemy survives that combat, you will get hit with a Seal skill. on combat, if the enemy survives that combat, you will get hit with the -6, which is a big debuff. Even in Fates, where you can hit stats up to 40, like, relatively simply, -6 is not something you fuck around with. So, the only way to deal with it is to kill the enemy. If you see a Spearmaster with a seal defense, you need to, and if you're going to engage that enemy, you better kill that enemy, otherwise you're going to be in a world of hurt. If you see somebody with seal speed, you definitely do want to kill them, because it's going to take you 6 turns to get all your speed back. So make sure, kill the enemy when it comes to seal skills. Number 2, let's go on to counter and counter magic. Counter is a level 15 Oni Chieftain skill. Counter magic is a level 15 Priestess or Great Master skill. So, counter is it's like red, and counter magic is slightly blue. Now, you can actually get access to both of these through a unit called Kumagera. He's chapter 14 of Conquest. He has counter magic, and he's an Oni Chieftain, so if you level him all the way up to level 15, which I have done, he's actually a pretty solid unit, you get counter magic. But I digress, that's not the important situation right now. How do you deal with counter and counter magic, and when do you look out for it? If you're in a Conquest late game, you see just a random archer dude just chilling in the convoy, you better check that guy's skills, because if that guy has counter, you are not going to enjoy your life if you attack that guy at 1 range. What counter does is, counter is at 1 range, anything. If you attack an enemy that has counter at 1 range with a physical weapon or a magical weapon, it does not matter what kind of weapon, you will get hit back for the amount of damage that you deal. Now, if you kill the enemy with that attack, it does not deal damage to you. Counter magic. What counter magic does is 1 to 2 range, but only magic. So if you attack a counter magic enemy at 1 to 2 range with magic, I don't believe there's any 3 range tomes. There's Spy Yumis and Spy Shurikens, but we don't talk about those because they're fucking garbage. You will get hit back for the damage that you deal. Now, how do you deal with this? You need to attack. If an enemy has both counter and counter magic, you need to do 2 range physical attacks. That's how you deal with counter and counter magic. So that means bows, that means 2 range shurikens, that means like javelins, that means 1 to 2 range physical weapons attacking at 2 range, that means tomahawks, that means spears, that means, wakizashis if you somehow have a wakizashi. Let's move on to Poison Strike and Grisly Wound. You conveniently get this in chapter 17. Grisly Wound is a wolf Segner, 9 tails, level 15 skill. Poison Strike is a ninja level 10 skill. Now, chapter 17, Master Ninja, this motherfucker is showing out like, I have shuriken. And wow, that was, I did not mean to draw a dick on him. He's like, I am Ninja Man. This guy's gonna have Lock Touch, just so that he can not get damage from the Caltrops on the ground. He's gonna have Poison Strike. He's gonna have Grisly Wound. He's gonna have all kinds of shit. So one of them even has movement +1. Like, what are you doing, game? Now, these guys are tough to deal with because if they initiate, Poison Strike is only in this initiation. So Poison Strike only works if the enemy that has Poison Strike initiates combat. Grisly Wound is any combat. So Grisly Wound activates even if you attack this ninja and you do not kill him, you will get hit by Grisly Wound back onto you. Now, these guys are not the only ones that have Grisly Wound. Chapter 7 Faceless on Lunatic also have Grisly Wound. If you, again, with all skills, the idea is to kill on initiation. Initiation. Yeah, I spelled it right. Okay. You need to kill them on initiation because otherwise they will poison strike. Poison strike is 20% of your health. Grisly wound is also 20% of your health. This stacks up to 40%. Even Xander ain't getting out of that shit alive because if the enemy attacks him, because the enemy will ignore you if you have too much defense for them to deal damage to you. So if they attack you, if they can deal damage to you, you're gonna die on that chapter because there's at least like 3. Because all the master ninjas have poison strike, grisly wound. It's you need to make sure you're able to deal with it. Now let's talk about player phase skills. So we're talking about blow skills. We're talking about blow skills. We're talking about poison strike again. We're talking about stuff like bloodthirst. We're talking about all kinds of stuff like that. Now, these are the skills that look like they look like this or something. There's death blow. There's death blow. There's no magical blow. There's certain blow, darting blow, armor blow, warding blow. There's 5 of them. So there's death blow, which is on Oni Chieftain level 5. It is plus 20 crit. Darting blow, which is Sky Knight level 10, which is plus 5 offensive attack speed. Remember, offensive attack speed only. So if an enemy with darting blow doubles you, and you have the ability, and let's say you have like a raider weapon that gives you 3 extra offensive attack speed, there could be a situation in which the enemy doubles you, but you also double them back. I haven't figured out exactly how that would work yet, but there is a possibility that is how that would work. Anyways, let's move on to certain blow, which is a sniper level 5 skill, which is 40 hit. There's armor blow, which is Great Knight level 15. Kind of underwhelming for Great Knight, honestly, which is plus 10 physical defense on initiation. There's warding blow, which is Falco level 15, which is plus 20 res on initiation. All of these are on initiation. So if you have a darting blow unit, that unit will only do that effect when they initiate. Poison strike, we already talked about. Bloodthirst is actually a personal of our resident. That's not how her hair looks, but it's more like this, but it's more like an Takamaki thing going on. But it's a parry. She has a knife, and she will kill you. Bloodthirst is it's not necessarily an initiation skill, but if you killed an enemy, then she gets 4 to strength, skill, and speed, and magic. But who cares? She has no magic. She's a cavalier. Then you have an Azura dance for her, and then she bodies enemies. This is why personal skills are important to take account of. Bloodthirst is one of the most viable personal skills. There's some personal skills that just make no sense and are basically garbage, but Bloodthirst, not so much. Let's move on to buffs. Probably some of my favorite skills. Now, this includes, these are actually some of the easiest skills to get access to, especially in early game Conquest, because these include, let's take a look at them. So, Demoiselle and Gentilhomme. Demoiselle and Gentilhomme, Inspiration. Rose's Thorns. And Lily's Voice. Rallying Cry and Quiet. Let's swap it to a different song. Oh, no, that's a banger. I mean, the entire Fates soundtrack is a banger, really. And then finally, Charm, which is DLC. Now, Demoiselle and Gentilhomme are both Troubadour. Inspiration is Strategist level 15. Rose of Thorns is Lily Poise. That's Camilla and Elise. Rallying Cry and Quiet Strike. That's Hinoka and Sakura. And Charm is DLC. So, all of these skills give you buffs. Demoiselle and Gentilhomme, all, these two are 2 range. This is 2 range. This is 1 range. So, Rose of Thorns, I would suggest checking Camilla's, I would suggest checking their personals, but Rose of Thorns and Lily's Poise each give you a buff to damage dealt and damage taken when the enemy, when an ally is close to them. So Rose of Thorns gives you +3 damage dealt, -1 damage taken. Lily's Poise gives you -3 damage taken, +1 damage dealt. Demoiselle and Gentilhomme are kind of unique because they only affect male and female units specifically. Demoiselle only affects male units, Gentilhomme only affects female units. You kind of want to learn, if you're confused about what gender a unit is, you're probably looking at Forrest, that's a guy, so he will be affected by Demoiselle. Now, Troubadour, the reason that these are actually quite easy to get is because of a little maid girl I like to call Felicia. She is a maid, and she sucks as a maid. Don't use her as a maid. Turn her into a strategist. She starts out as a promoted class that gains EXP at the rated normal class, so she gets to level 15 mad easy. So she gets Demoiselle, and Inspiration. Inspiration is really good. Within 2 tiles, any allies, they take 2 less damage and they deal 2 more damage. That's so valuable. Rallying Cry, it's just, that's Hinoka. Allies within 2 spaces just deal 2 more damage. Quiet Strength, allies within 2 spaces take 2 less damage. Charm is the same thing as Inspiration. So, those are the main 2 range buff skills that you want to remember. The 21st night of September. Good old classic. Stat stacking. So, you're in late game Conquest, you're on the wall, you're maybe on the Sakura chapter, you see, groups of enemies, you see like, whoa, there's a bunch of enemies here. How do you take care of this group of enemies? The best way is on enemy phase with a buff unit. So that's usually going to be Xander, Camilla, Leo, Corin, Odin, people like that. So, Odin because he has 1 to 2 range. Oh, yeah, Shura. Don't forget Shura. So these people. Now, how do you stat stack? Stat stack is when you add stat stacking is pretty simple. It's when you use multiple different buffs to add a lot of things to a stat in a specific way. Now, let's take a look at Perry. Let's take a look at Perry. She starts off with 13 strength and 13 speed. That's her basis at level 10. Now, let's say I want to get her up to 21 strength and speed. That seems kind of a bit tough, but it's not that tough, as tough as you would imagine. So let's say we do Rally, strength, speed. Okay, now that's +4 to each of her stats, so that's 17. Let's say we do, we kill an enemy with her activated personal. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 21. That's literally, we're already there. It's so simple to stat stack. You can get up to like 15 bonuses so easily. Some things, here's how you stat stack. There's a couple of things that can help you stat stack. So, stat stacking, you want to do cooking. Cooking is when, is a My Castle thing. You give them 2 specific ingredients that correlate to stats, and they give you a meal. Now, you want to put Perry on this because Perry is really good at cooking. Perry, Percy, Jacob, and if you can't get some of these units, then Azura. Like, these units are good at cooking. Perry's the best at cooking among them. Oh, also Mozu. Mozu's also solid at cooking. That's one way to get buffs. You can get up to +2 in the stats that you're looking for. That's one way to do it. Number 2, rallies. We already talked about it. Rallies are skills that make that allies within 2 spaces. So let's say I have Rally Man here. He's a generic you can capture that has 4 rallies on him. There's an ally here, ally here, ally here, ally here. So within 2 spaces, let's actually do this. There's an ally here. All of these, if I use a rally on him, all of these guys are gonna get buffed. Every single one of these guys is gonna get buffed because it's a 2-tile range, and it gives you +4 to a specific stat. Actually, I just remembered. This is a lie, by the way. Parry's actually personal actually counts as a rally, so you can't do you can't activate her personal. So let's say you cook strength and speed, so you're at 19, 19, and then you do a tonic, tonics or something else that I'll discuss. Now you're up to 21, 21. Parry's personal counts as a rally, so remember, if you activate her personal, you can't stack rallies on top of that. Another way, as I just said, is a tonic. Tonics cost 150 gold, and what they give you is +2 to a stat until end of map. That's pretty solid. You can hit some very valuable benchmarks with this. For example, if you give Kumagira, one of the generic capturables that I mentioned, if you give him a strength tonic and a berserker pair up, that he can use a tomahawk to one-hit KO all the master ranges on chapter 17. That these are the things that tonics can help you do. They are the keys to the kingdom. If you are just struggling to do something, buy a tonic. That is what you need. We're moving on to a nice one. We're talking about the weapon triangle. Weapon triangle, as we know in Fates, it is. I'm gonna use the Hoshin weapons for daggers at least. It is shurikens and lances are good against swords and magic, which is good against bows and what the hell? Oh yeah, bows and axes. If you're colorblind, it's kind of tough for you guys to figure it out, but it's blue is good against red, is good against green. If you play heroes, you know that that's how that works. Let's move on to our. Let's move on to the next. Let's move on to some discussions. So, weapon triangle in Fates. Weapon triangle is not a set bonus. Now, depending on the weapon rank of the, it is a weapon rank based system. So, let's say, weapon triangle works the same across all weapon types, but it's not, which is not always the case. Let's go ahead and let's check this. Okay, so this is based on weapon rank of unit with weapon triangle bonus. Remember that. So at E rank, you get E and D rank, you get ±5 hit. So the person who has weapon triangle would get +5 hit. The person who has weapon triangle disadvantage would get -5 hit. C rank is plus and minus 1 attack, and then plus and minus 5 hit. B is plus and minus 1 attack, plus and minus 10 hit. A is also plus and minus 1 attack, and plus and minus 15 hit. S is kind of exclusive here. We're talking about weapon rank caps and depending on stats in a little bit, but S rank units get plus and minus 2 attack and plus and minus 20 hit. This is better than FE4 weapon bonuses, weapon triangle. So if you got an S rank unit and that unit is that weapon triangle, they're going to shred the enemies. This also works with in conjunction with a certain mechanic called weapon rank bonuses. Now, let's get started on these bad boys. So, depending on what weapon type you have, what weapon rank you have, you might get some bonuses to what you do. So, there's 3 different categories. So, let's make a little chart here. This is the weapon type, and this is the bonuses that you get. Weapon type bonuses. So, we'll discuss the specific bonuses. Number 1 is sword. This if it also includes the Hoshin weapons. So bonuses, you get C, you get 1 attack. So by the way, these are just some bonuses that you get. So if you have C rank swords, no matter when you attack, you're gonna get an extra attack. So B, 2 attack, and then it starts off at C and goes up to S, and then 3 attack, then 4 attack, 5 hit. Let's go to Axis. So it starts off at C, and you get 5 hit, 10 hit, 1 attack, 10 hit, and then 2 attack, 15 hit. And then staves and rods. Oh, these ones are kind of interesting. I actually like the way that this is done. So you get +1 heal, +1 healing at C rank, and then you get +1 heal, 5 hit, and then you get +2 heal, 5 hit, and then at S rank you probably just get +3 heal, 10 hit. I'm bad at spacing. Everything else, what you get is, so you get 1 attack. You get 1 attack, 5 hit. You get, that's B rank. At A rank, you get 2 attack, 5 hit. And then at S rank, you get 2 attack, and then 10 hit. These are the numbers that you somewhat want to remember. These and the weapon triangle bonus stack on each other. This is what makes calculating player phases, calculating damage output kind of a pain in the ass. This and debuffs. Alright. Now we're going to talk about Reaver weapons. There are a couple Reaver weapons in Conquest. There's you get access to all of them. So in Birthright and Rev. So Reavers. What the Reavers do is they reverse weapon triangle and double. These are the dual weapons. So this includes the dual Yumi, Shuriken, Katana, Club, Yumi, Shuriken, Katana, Club, Naginata. Am I missing anything? I got the Yumi and Shuriken, Katana, Club, Naginata. No, this Club is what you can actually get this in Conquest Chapter 10. You also have the Calamity Gate. That's just the tone variant. When you hold it's a scroll, so when you're holding it, it gives you +1 speed and defense. This one can also be gotten in Conquest. It's in the Ophelia Paralog. It is in a village, the top left village. So if you want these 2 weapons, both of these weapons are extremely useful, especially the dual club, because that lets you get a guaranteed kill on Ryoma if you have Wyvern Lord Korin, as I mentioned previously. Calamity Gate is also really good against Shuriken users, which is something that's valuable. Now, let's move on. What else do we have? Final thing I'm going to talk about, at least in this video, is forging. Now, actually, you know what? I'm gonna leave that for the next video. Actually, let's talk about weapons. Let's talk about weapons. This is gonna be talking about what weapons are worth using. Worth using are bronze weapons. Bronze weapons give you 10 extra crit avoid, and they have good hit. So they are very worth using, especially when forced, because they get a lot of might. Iron weapons, because they're just regular weapons. Silver weapons, not so much. Except for the silver dagger, which is very occasionally useful if you just need, like, if you're on a short chapter and you need some damage output. And brave weapons. These weapons are extremely good because you can, as I mentioned, you can dual strike off them for completely free. Some more weapons that are valuable, especially in Conquest, are...
Welcome.
This is the staff sword. Ignore me.
Good to see you. Good to see
Okay, effective damage. Effective damage. So, except for the Wyvern Worm Slayer. Worm Slayer is complete garbage. So you want the Armor Slayer, Hammer, Beast Killer, you know, Hunter's Knife. These weapons are all good, especially the hammers, because later in the game, generals are going to have Wary Fighter, which means that they cannot be doubled. So one-hit KOing them with that is going to be really useful. Now, there's also monster effective weapons, but those aren't quite that good. We also have magical weapons. Oh, this is Bolt, Axe, Levin, Sword, Shining Bow. Now, out of these three, the Bolt Axe and the Shining Bow are the most important. This one mostly for Camilla and Corin and Kumagera. And this one mostly for Niles and Nina. And if you're like L-Trank and you're doing Outlaw Odin strats, then I guess you can use it on Odin too. Hell, you can use anything on Odin. The guy's a fucking legend. Let's move on. Yeah, I guess that's all I'm going to be talking about today, guys. If you have any other topics that you want me to suggest, I'm just here to help out the people, because there's a lot of people that just don't know enough about Fates, and they try to get into Conquest, and they don't find it fun, and I find that really heartbreaking, because I know that Conquest can be a lot of fun, if you know what you're doing. I'm just trying to help people understand what they're doing, so if you have any other suggestions to give me, please let me know. I will see you guys in the next video.